Whenever most people think of Christmas, they think of presents and Santa. For me, I think of a phenomenon that happened to me when I was younger. As a kid, my cousins always used to joke that if you saw Santa, his elves would use the ends of their pointy shoes to poke your eyes out. Being a dumb kid, I actually believed them. So every Christmas Eve night, I would hide under my blanket, trying to sleep so I wouldn't get my eyes ripped out by elves. My plan had always worked, except for when I was 6. That Christmas Eve, my mom and I had put out cookies and milk for Santa before going to bed. After that, I followed my Christmas tradition of hiding under my blanket. In the dead of the night, I could hear someone digging in the fridge downstairs. I was still scared of the thought of elves poking my eyes out, but my curiosity got the best of my 6-year-old self, and I had to see what Santa looked like. I walked down the stairs, expecting to see a jolly old man in a red suit, with a big white beard eating our cookies. Instead, I was greeted by some sort of creature. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it definitely wasn't human. It was gulping down all the food in our fridge. I could only stare at it, and once it noticed me, it stared back. It had large and sharp teeth, covered with red liquid. Ketchup, probably. I didn't really know how to react. Was this thing supposed to be Santa? The creature stood on 2 legs, then walked around the house after emptying our fridge. It looked at our Christmas tree, our presents, and decorations. I stood there, watching the monster walk around. Then it paused for a second, and it stared straight at me, while smiling.
I'll be back.
I watched as it went up the chimney. The only proof of its existence was my empty fridge. On Christmas morning, I tried to tell my mom about what I saw, but she told me I was just imagining things. Even as an adult, I still think of that weird encounter I had. This year, I'm spending Christmas Eve alone in my apartment. I decided to put on a Christmas movie to help me fall asleep. I slowly began drifting off. Upon waking up, it took me a moment to process what was happening. I could faintly hear jingle bells ring throughout my house, but I knew I didn't have any decorations with bells on them. That's whenever I began having the horrifying realization. Someone was definitely inside my house. I stood up and put my ear against my bedroom door. I backed up when I heard something like a fight happening. I ran back to my bed and dove under the blankets, due to my habit as a kid. I heard my bedroom door slowly open. Even though I was terrified, I lifted my blanket up slightly to see who it was. I let my eyes adjust slowly to the darkness, and I saw the creature from 15 years ago, right in front of me. The monster gave me a terrifying smile, and for some reason I felt relieved,
I saved you from them.
was all it said, before it left for good. I was left there dumbfounded, but thankful. If that was never actually the monster, then who was?
Maybe I could waste my time on you. Never mind all our worries. If you do it just the way I like, maybe I could waste my
Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. The snow is falling, gifts are given, and families are happy. Well, most families are. My best friend Aaron and I decided to go Christmas shopping together. Christmas was only about 2 weeks away, yet neither of us had bought enough presents for our friends and family. Every year I promised myself I'd buy Christmas gifts early, yet that never seems to happen. The next morning, we met up at the bus station. The bus arrived not too long after we got there. As we looked through the sea of seats, a scruffy-looking guy caught my eye. His hair was a tangled mess, and he had deep purple bags under his eyes. He sent a chill down my spine, and I found myself unconsciously meeting his gaze every time he looked at us. Aaron and I are both petite girls. Neither of us were exactly looking for trouble, and neither of us wanted to end up on the news. After a few agonizing minutes with this man, the bus finally arrived at the mall. Aaron and I stood up, collected our bags, paid our fare, and got off. I almost let out a sigh of relief, but a nudge from Erin stopped me. She gestured behind us, and the man from before soon fell into my line of sight. He had left at the same stop as us. I tried to convince myself he was just buying Christmas gifts too. The mall was a popular place. Everyone came here to buy gifts. "Hey, I need to pick up a gift for my younger brother," Erin spoke. "Can we stop by a toy store or something?" "Oh yeah, sure," I responded offhandedly. With every step we took, the man followed. When we entered the toy store, he did too. I was starting to suspect he was following us. We strode down the first aisle. Rows of Nerf guns filled the shelves. I looked back, and I realized he was slowly getting closer to us. I scooted closer to Erin. Just being close to her made me feel more safe. "That man is still following us," I told her. Erin pulled her jacket closer to herself. "I noticed," she replied. I could hear the fear in her voice. In that moment, I realized just how scared both of us were. We stopped by a shelf full of plushies. "I'll just get the red one," Erin said as she picked up a smiling red heart. Now that Erin had what she needed, we walked to the cashier. Like before, the man followed closely. Terrible thoughts filled my mind, and before I realized, Erin was already done checking out. She bid them a quick thank you. Then we left the store. We had one last stop to go to, the jewelry store. I had to get a gift for my sister. I thought the man had finally left, as I hadn't seen him enter the store with us. "What do you think I should get for my sister?" I asked Erin as we looked through the racks of jewelry together. "Maybe a charm bracelet," Erin suggested, before a loud gasp left her lips. I thought maybe she had seen the man. Instead of Erin screaming as I expected, she pointed behind me. I turned around only to see a pair of ridiculous Christmas-themed earrings. We walked up to the holiday-themed earrings. Erin plucked them off the shelf. "Look at these," she chuckled. "They look so dumb. You should get them for your sister." I wanted to laugh back, even make a snarky remark at Erin's joke. I opened my mouth, but the only thing that came out was a blood-curdling scream. A hand had latched onto my wrist. I turned to see who grabbed me, and I saw the horrifying face of the man on the bus. I could tell my cry had caused a scene, as the cashier behind the desk looked over. The man smiled down at me. Then he ran out the store. I stood there, my hand placed on my wrist where he grabbed me. The cashier, who had witnessed the entire event firsthand, had called mall security. We decided to leave early, and the officers escorted us out of the building into the bus station. This time, the strange man wasn't there. I left the mall feeling uneasy but relieved. 2 weeks later, Christmas Day finally arrived. The incident hadn't quite left my mind. I wasn't going back to that mall for a very long time. After me and my family finished opening presents, there was one mysterious gift left. It had a classic red ribbon on top, and it was addressed to me. My heart dropped when I saw what was inside. It was a photo of me and Erin at the mall from 2 weeks earlier, along with those ridiculous Christmas-themed earrings. After I spent a late night at the office, I walked to the bus stop to go home. This was a daily routine for me, and nothing weird had ever happened before, so I wasn't really aware of my surroundings. I sat down at the bus stop and a man sat down next to me. I didn't really think anything of him, because a lot of people rode the bus at night. The only thing I found strange about him was the fact that he kept glancing at me until the bus came. I just put in my earbuds and hoped he would look the other way. When the bus finally arrived, I sat down in my usual spot, and I thought that was the end of his creepiness. I was wrong, because he sat behind me, and I could feel him continue to stare at me. I just stared out the window, and I brushed him off as another creepy guy. Eventually, the bus got to my stop. He stood up to get off, and I felt a sigh of relief escape my lips. I told myself I would just get off the next stop to avoid him, then walk back to my house. He turned back, and then stared directly at me. I realized he was waiting for me to get up and leave too. I stayed seated, playing oblivious. Did he somehow know my routine? Whenever he saw that I wasn't going to get up, He went to go sit back down. I sweated nervously. I didn't know what to do. He was definitely waiting for me to get off so he could follow me. Whenever I was lost in my thoughts, the bus went to the last stop. I waited for someone else to get up so I could walk next to them. I looked around the bus, and my heart dropped. We were the only two on the bus. He got up and smiled at me, knowing now that I had to get off. I gathered up all my courage and walked towards the door. I knew I would have to run to make sure he didn't get me. Just as I was about to head out, the bus driver grabbed my hand. "Do you know him?" he asked. I shook my head, and the bus driver took another look at him before closing the doors. The man banged on the doors, screaming to let him in. The bus driver called the police and waited with me inside the bus as the man screamed. The police came and arrested the man after they found out he had been a wanted suspect in the kidnapping of a girl 2 weeks prior. Me and the bus driver actually ended up becoming good friends because of the situation, and it's still a story I tell to this day.